Hey, so today I want to talk about the saints, the cloud of witnesses, the governors. So, who are the cloud of witnesses? The cloud of witnesses are saints who no longer live on earth. Many of them on earth died, but are counted amongst the courts of heaven and are safe to interact with. In some cultures, they're called ancestors, but it's not the case with every culture that uses the word ancestor. These are specifically talking about holy individuals who carry keys and records. Now, the way that they function amongst the cloud of witnesses, remember, it talks about them in the New Testament of the Bible, where it says that we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, meaning that their interaction with us is very up close and personal should we allow ourselves to press into that reality. I started to first have interactions with the cloud of witnesses back in 2017 when my journey first started. One of the first beings I ever met was Samson, the strong guy that everyone loves. And they talk about him getting his hair cut. Well, he's the one who taught me how to pray, teaching me to sit and just receive power with the premise of you can use as much as you store up. So spending time in the present soaking up power became a regular everyday activity for me. And that's something that I learned via the cloud of witnesses. I later found out that there were other mystics that did this very same thing, practicing the presence, waiting on the presence, soaking in the presence, sitting in the glory. Uh, though I've heard people say it and describe it a few different ways, but the premise remains the same. Now, that's something I learned via the cloud of witnesses, and I've learned many things over the years from the cloud of witnesses. There's a term I used earlier, which are governors. I call them mentors, but some of you know them as governors. The governors or mentors are people in the cloud of witnesses, saints within the cloud of witnesses, who are ordained or assigned to you to help you in some way, shape, or form. And they typically partner with us for these few reasons: uh, to mentor us, for us to clear up their history in the sense that there's a story that needs to be told. You're called to walk in what they walked in, you're called to succeed where they failed, to finish what they started, right? Or just that they're simply assigned to mentor you in a certain vein. And they have the records, they have the revelation and the power and the impartation necessary to deal with you. Now, this isn't something that you get to pick. This is something that's picked for you, just like the seven spirits are picked for you to teach and train you regarding your sonship journey. The same is true with the saints in the cloud of witnesses, where they are specifically assigned to you by the rest of Elohim, by the royal family, by what suits you best. So I've learned a lot from my governors over the years, and this is an aspect of our sonship journey that often goes overlooked because of people's fear of witchcraft. No, it's not witchcraft. This is sonship. This is a holy science, right? This isn't the same as necromancy. That's a lot of people's fear because truthfully, they operate in a realm where death can't really reach. A lot of them simply happen to not have a physical body anymore. Some of them did die, but it's more about the fact that they are heavenly entities sent by God and ordained by God to interact with us and help us fulfill our mandates on the earth. They are on a kingdom assignment. And that's one of the best ways that you can, one of the signs that there is something different between the cloud of witnesses and a familiar spirit. Familiar spirits aren't necessarily on a kingdom mission. And oftentimes, a familiar spirit will take the form of a loved one, a family member, so on and so forth, to let you, to have you put your guard down. They are a seducing spirit. So they come in a form that you'll be a bit more receptive to in order to lure you away from your calling. When dealing with the cloud of witnesses, yes, there's some measure of fellowship, but the idea around their interaction is always centered on you growing more and more in your identity and walking in more of the things that you're actually granted as a part of your destiny. Their focus is to focus you and to bring you into a greater measure of sonship, to help you mature, to help you get stable. So they are about Father's business. Now, there are a few places where you can interact with saints. You can host a presence on earth, right? If the vibration of the room, if the atmosphere is set to a certain degree, they can actually begin to appear where they could walk in and it's as if anyone else walks into the room. They often accompany you. So whenever you're sitting in the presence of God, the presence of Elohim, you have to understand that they're not by themselves. They always travel with an entourage, whether or not you care about that entourage or not. Many times when Yeshua shows up, he's accompanied by angels, he's accompanied by other saints. Same with the Father, same with Holy Spirit. They're never really by themselves. But the more we allow ourselves to kind of behold all of that which is coming to our perimeter, you start to pick up on the fact that, well, we've been entertaining saints and angels unaware every time we've been situated in the presence of God. So practicing the presence is one of the best ways to begin to interact with the cloud of witnesses, because oftentimes Yeshua, as Lord of the men in white linen, that's another name for them. This is why the Yoruba called him Obatala, which is Lord of the white cloth or King of the white cloth. It's the same dimension of him. He's the ruler of the holy ancestors, Lord of the saints. So oftentimes when Yeshua comes, he will often meet you with the assembly that best suits you, meaning that he'll often come up to you and his entourage will consist of the saints and angels that are also meant to be partnered with you. It's just that oftentimes people are so fixated on him that they miss out on the other realities, the other entities that are also with him, that also play a huge part in our upbringing. So, for one, anytime you engage Yeshua, he's one of the best people to introduce you to your governors, introduce you to other saints, just because he's the Lord of them all. He sits in all the meetings. What do I mean by meetings? Well, there's many different places in the heavens and in higher realms and dimensions where saints gather. See, there's earthly assemblies, but the ecclesia isn't limited to our earthly gatherings. No, the ecclesia, the immortal assembly of divine sons and divine offspring of God, they assemble in many pockets and in many realities. And Yeshua is Lord of them all. So if you're dealing with the courts of heaven, well, there's the men in white linen. That is a court of saints, court of governors. That is one of the places where you can interact with the saints that are assigned to you. You go into the court and they'll appear to you, the one that you need in that moment. Now, there is no set number on how many governors you can have. Some people might only have 2. Some people might have 70. Some people might have 900. It doesn't matter. It's more so, it's not about you just having favorite people. It's about who was assigned to you by the royal family. So you have the court of saints, like you have the court of the men in white linen. That's one place that you can interact with saints. Another is in Sirius. For those of you who are permitted to be there, Sirius is pretty much where all of the saints gather within the cosmos. Star system Sirius, they sit in there and they have arguments all day about the course of creation. So you'll be surprised who you'll see in there and who's actually classified as a son and a saint. I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say sonship in the kingdom is not a Christian exclusive community. It goes a bit beyond religious boundaries. So you have Sirius, you have the court of the men in white linen. Also, whenever interacting with the outer court, anywhere that's considered the outer court is an open space available. So when you're traveling within yourself as the temple and you go into the outer court is the dimension of the sons and offspring. So that's really another place where you can find pretty much anyone within that overvoid. Now, this has been a crucial role in a lot of different saints and mystics' lives throughout the ages. I want to say it was Joan of Arc. She mentioned that she was mentored by, I believe it was Saint Margaret and someone else. I forget their name. But even she mentioned her mentorship there, that she was mentored by the cloud of witnesses. In fact, the sword that she used belonged to a saint previous to her who gave it to her. Padre Pio mentioned how different saints would appear via the cloud of witnesses and mentor him and teach him different mysteries concerning sonship and spirituality. You have the Gospel of the Holy 12, that book that everyone argues about its historical accuracy and things like that. Well, that is a book that, according to the author of it, he got by saints who appeared through the cloud of witnesses and told him the story of Christ. Now, whether or not the historians can vouch for the Gospel of the Holy 12, all of the mystics can. It gets very, very close to the truth. It's pretty accurate overall. And like I said, I've had my fair share of experiences with the cloud of witnesses, people, modern day saints like Nancy Cohen, Ian Clayton. It's a part of our life that we do our own form of learning, which is sitting amongst those who are wiser and more powerful than us so that they can help us, or even those who qualify as equals, peers. You know, you're not really growing unless you're sitting around equal twos and greater thans. And with that, I'll leave you, just letting you know that that is an important part to play. The cloud of witnesses press on us all. They are an intrinsic part of our relationship and our sonship and our development. So, how do you know if someone is a governor? One, ask Yeshua. He's Lord of them all. Two, a simple thing that you might have noticed when dealing with saints, there's some who simply resonate as a part of your scroll, as a part of your destiny. These aren't necessarily your favorites. These are people who have always been highlighted to you. So a simple exercise I give people is, when thinking about characters from the Bible, think of the ones who are always highlighted to you, whether or not they were your favorites. Likely they're your governor. Now, the way to verify is just to go ask Yeshua, hey, is this one of my governors? Because that'll also explain the answer to some people who wonder, how come it's easier to interact with some saints and not others? Everyone's not assigned to you. Everyone's not assigned to me. And they follow instructions. So pretty much once you know who your governors are, you know what your impartation is set for. That at the very least you can expect to gain from the interaction. And they're there to help. They're commissioned to help you. You're commissioned to help them. Right? It's a divine relationship set up for everyone's betterment. So I'll leave y'all with that. If you want to keep up with me and the things that I have going on, projects, classes, courses, the shop, check out the website caveofmystery.org. That's it for this session. Y'all be blessed. Later.